One of the coolest parts about San Diego Comic-Con is it gives us a chance to catch up with some of the people behind our favorite franchises. And as a major creative force on Battlestar Galactica, For All Mankind, Outlander, and oh yeah, Star Trek The Next Generation, our next guest certainly fits the bill many times over. Ronald D. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Out here in the loudest balcony in the world, but it is great. It is Comic-Con. Sam Esmail, the creator of Mr. Robot, will be making a new Battlestar Galactica series. AI is a central part of that world. What about the current state of artificial intelligence do you think is important for BSG to address?
I think it's hard not to address it if you're doing Battlestar Galactica, because it was certainly baked into, everything that we were doing was talking about the Cylons were true, sentient, self-aware AIs, that walked around in mechanical form and then evolved themselves into looking like human beings. So it was like something that was fundamental to that show. So I'm sure whatever Sam is doing will take that into consideration, because that's really part of that universe.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing how prescient the show still is.
Yeah.
All this time later. Speaking of, 2004's Battlestar Galactica has a lot of things that are still relevant. Given that, what themes do you think would be important for new stories in that universe to touch on?
Well, I think one of the opportunities whenever you're doing a science fiction piece like that is that it's a chance to sort of talk about what we're going through today.
Yes.
When we did the original, or my version of Battlestar Galactica, it was shortly after the 9/11 attacks and the invasion of Iraq, and we used it as an opportunity to talk about those ideas, about terrorism, about security versus freedom, religious fundamentalism, and how it is affecting people. So if you're doing it today, it should in some way, shape, or form reflect a lot of the concerns and struggles that we're having today in our own society.
You had a pretty long run on Star Trek The Next Generation and then Deep Space Nine, but is it safe to say that eventually you found you wanted to move beyond that universe and try new ones? And if so, is that what led to Battlestar Galactica?
It was a lot of things. I was there a long time. I was there. I did 5 years on Next Gen and 5 years on Deep Space, and I did 2 of the Next Gen movies. And there just comes a point in your career where it's time to go try new challenges. So I did a show called Roswell for a while, and Carnival for HBO. But then Battlestar was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, and I do enjoy being in space. So I continue to do things in that area.
Do what you love. We recently passed the 30th anniversary of Next Gen's final episode, All Good Things.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now, is there anything you wish you had done differently when the show ended?
No, it's a miracle it turned out as good as it did. It was Brandon Braga and I wrote it together, and we wrote it quickly, like in a month. We weren't expecting to write the finale of the series. We thought that the late Michael Piller was going to write it himself, and he asked us to do it. And it just all came together. It was one of those great experiences as a writer where you don't have a lot of time, and you just have to do it, and then it turned out beautifully. So no, I don't know that there's anything that we really do differently.
I did actually speak to some Star Trek cast members today from Strange New Worlds, and a few of them cited TNG and Picard as being their favorites among the series. Do you follow the modern Star Trek shows, and what did you think of Picard Season 3, which kind of did a play on All Good Things, even down to the closing shot of the crew playing poker?
It was lovely. It was great to see the gang back together. I got a tremendous amount of satisfaction to see Picard again, and Riker, and Data, and Worf, and and Troy, and Beverly, and I'm forgetting names, I'm sure, but it was really fun to see the characters again. It meant a lot that they got back on the Enterprise, and I thought that was wonderful. I also follow Strange New Worlds, which I think is a tremendous show. I think it really captures the spirit and the ethos of the original series, and because that's what drew so many people into Star Trek to begin with, like me. And I think it's a wonderful show. I think it's incredibly well made, and I love it.
I think it genuinely captures this ethos of why we should strive for this world. Shifting gears a little bit, as Outlander nears its end, should fans expect the end of Claire and James' story to be bittersweet? Could the conclusion be more open-ended, or are we truly seeing the last of them?
Well, Of all the things I could talk about, I probably can't tell you anything about the ending of Outlander.
I had to try.
Yeah, you got to try. Good effort, but no, you're gonna have to wait. And I know it's a very special ending. I know Matt Roberts, the showrunner, who worked very hard on it with his team of writers, for quite a while. And I think it's gonna be something everyone's gonna love.
All right, I have one last question, and it is a lightning round. What is your favorite episode from each of your shows between Trek, Battlestar Galactica, Outlander, and For All Mankind?
Wow.
Do they exist for you?
That's tough, because probably from Galactica. I'm still very fond of the episode 33, which was the first episode of the first season. I thought it was like a second pilot for the show almost, and I love the structure of it. I thought it was a challenging show and a really interesting, different way of going. Of Outlander, I'm very fond of the wedding episode. I thought it worked beautifully, and it was wonderfully acted and directed, and I thought it was a great piece of writing by Anne. And on For All Mankind, I'm very fond of the Hi Bob episode, which we did, and it was all about them watching the Bob Newhart show, and of course Bob Newhart just passed away. But I love that whole episode of them stuck in the base and watching one sitcom over and over again and reciting the lines to each other. I think it's something everyone here at Comic-Con can relate to when you watch episodes so much that you know the lines of dialogue and can act them out yourself. And I thought that was a really interesting show. Again, tremendously acted and directed, and I'm really proud of that one.
Fantastic. You've created and worked on so many different worlds. I have to ask, do you have any interest in writing a video game?
Sure. I don't know anything about writing a video game or what that would be like. I think it would be a fascinating challenge just to learn what the process is. It sounds like it must be an enormous amount of writing because the possibilities of what you can do, especially if you're doing an open world, must be really daunting. So, I'd be very curious to know what that would be like.
I mean, they truly can end up being hundreds of hours of content. If you had to maybe pick a kind of video game, is there one you might lean into more?
It would probably be some kind of space-based adventure. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what world I would do, or it'd either be that or it would be like a Western, like a classic Western, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting to me, and now my interest is piqued, but that was a theoretical question, unfortunately, for now. All right, Ronald, thank you so much for joining us out here today on our balcony. There's a lot more to come from San Diego Comic-Con, so stick around.